Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Webinar Wednesday. My name is Ria Stark. I'm the Digital Engagement Manager here at TLC, and today we are going to be talking about the fastest, most efficient way to obtain ready-to-load RDA enriched MARC records for your library's eResources. So if you have any kind of digital eResources in your collection from vendors such as OverDrive or cloudLibrary, then this is absolutely the webinar for you. Our first panelist today is Sam Brenizer, the Director of Product Management for our Library.Solution integrated library system. He also oversees our metadata services such as eBiblioFile, which we will be showcasing today. And Sam is joined by product owner, cataloger, and local hero amongst the customer base, Kim Mumbower. Now, before I hand it over to these two experts, you know I have some housekeeping to do. So number one, all of our webinars are recorded, yes, including this one. You can watch the replay starting tomorrow from our website at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. You'll also receive an email reminder tomorrow when it's available. And a special hello from the past to anyone watching today's recording in the future. Number two, for those of us joining live, today in the present tense, you have the opportunity to ask our panelists questions. So throughout the presentation, please add those into the questions panel and we'll answer those at the end of the session. And number three, before you log out, be sure to download the handouts for additional information about eBiblioFile and TLC as a whole. All right, last thing to kick this off, I do want to launch a poll to find out a little bit more about our live audience. So specifically, how much of your time is spent cataloging? So that poll should pop up on your screen here in a moment if it hasn't already. And I want to know, are you a full-time cataloger? Is cataloging only one of the many facets of your job? Or maybe you don't catalog at all. And hey, that's okay too. Everyone's welcome here at TLC's Webinar Wednesday series. In fact, I am not a cataloger myself. Anytime I have anything cataloging related, I always go to Kim. So no matter what level of experience you have, we are very glad that you've been able to set aside part of your day to watch our webinar. And in just a moment, we'll see the results. Okay, looks like a lot of catalogers in the audience, or at least those who have it as part of their job, 58%, and 35% are full-time catalogers. Awesome, welcome everybody. All right, Sam, I think I've gone on long enough. I will go ahead and hand it over to you to tell our audience more about TLC's automated cataloging service for eResources. It looks like we are seeing your desktop right now. There you go.
All right, thank you, Ria, and welcome everyone. As Ria noted, my name is Sam Brenizer, and today we're going to talk a bit about eBiblioFile, and that is our service for delivering enriched MARC records to your library in support of your eResources. The Library Corporation's eBiblioFile product is an on-demand service that creates and delivers MARC records with enhanced RDA fields for ebooks and other downloadable titles. Any integrated library system that uses MARC records is compatible with the Library Corporation's eBiblioFile service and records that we deliver. TLC's current partners include bibliotheca and OverDrive. That is, we deliver records for customers who use the cloudLibrary product and or the OverDrive product. So why would a library choose eBiblioFile? TLC, the Library Corporation, believes it's important for your library patrons and staff to have access to eResources as soon as possible. That is, we want to help your team minimize the time frame between the eResource order date and the time the books and other downloadable titles can be found in your library catalog. To support this objective, TLC's eBiblioFile product delivers MARC records within 48 hours or less after placing the eResource order. TLC also believes MARC records should be affordable and readily available for all titles in the order. The eBiblioFile service delivers a MARC record for every title that is a part of your order. TLC charges $1 per record and that is only for those that are full MARC records. For those titles where we don't have a full MARC record, TLC includes a minimal MARC record for free as part of the record file. Since discoverability is also critical, The eBiblioFile service also includes enrichments. Those enrichments include RDA fields and authority control fields using LC headings. These enrichments are provided at no additional cost. When considering a MARC record provider, the TLC team realized customizations are also important to metadata specialists or catalogers. eBiblioFile customizations include adding certain fields to the MARC record, preserving or deleting, depending on your preference, the GMD, customizing the physical description, and customizing the URL link notes. Since eBiblioFile does not include minimal records, since eBiblioFile does include minimal records as part of the order, and realizing that a richer MARC record would provide a better customer experience, an additional option is provided for upgrading minimal MARC records. That is, when the eBiblioFile service upgrades a minimal title record that was previously delivered, and your library subscribes to the minimal record upgrade service, the eBiblioFile product will send a full title replacement record that can be used to overlay that minimal record that was previously shipped. Having a catalog that is rich in metadata is a means to help library staff and patrons discover resources. By providing fast and affordable MARC records, TLC's eBiblioFile service can help you remove access barriers to your library's content and help you meet the needs of your local community. Kim, why don't you tell us a little bit more about how the eBiblioFile service works?
Thanks, Sam. Hello, everyone. This is Kim. So how does eBiblioFile work? So once a library is registered with eBiblioFile and then places an order with their eResource vendor, either OverDrive or cloudLibrary, eBiblioFile will automatically receive the order details from that vendor. Then eBiblioFile will process those details and create ready-to-load title records for each title in the order, and then delivers them directly to the library within 48 hours. The processing creates two types of title records, as Sam discussed, full title records or minimal. So I want to share a few details about how those records look. Full title records are compliant with cataloging standards for full-level encoding. Source of the title metadata is coming from TLC's bibliographic databases, most of which are updated at least once a week. Each title record is authority controlled and RDA-ified. The title records also contain the library's predefined custom fields and the URL link to the downloadable title resource and any excerpts or summaries that are provided by the vendor. Now, the minimal title records are only delivered when a source title record cannot be found. These minimal title records are created based on the metadata we receive from the vendor. We don't have all of the pieces of data that you would like to see in a title record, but at least you have all of the standard minimal fields. Minimal titles will not have subject headings and are not authority controlled or RDA-ified. However, the minimal titles, besides the title and the standard number and some other data, do include the library's predefined custom fields and include the URL for the downloadable title resource and any excerpts or summaries that are provided by the vendor. Next slide, please, Sam. So how does a library get started with eBiblioFile? First, you need to have an existing account or partnership with OverDrive or cloudLibrary. You can go to the website eBiblioFile.com and find a registration form there where you can register and submit that form directly to eBiblioFile, or you can go through your eResource vendor and ask them to be registered with eBiblioFile. On eBiblioFile.com, you will also find a link that will provide you a free sample of 25 MARC records so that you can review the data. Make sure it looks appropriate for your needs. Next slide, Sam. So for more information, I encourage everyone to go visit eBiblioFile.com. There is an FAQ page that explains most of what we've discussed and provides additional answers. So I encourage everyone to go take a look. I think that's all I have to say about that. Go ahead, Sam, and it's about time for questions. Questions and answers. And
hey, Kim, thank you. I'll go ahead and jump in here. And we do have a few questions for our audience before we jump into some of the questions. So first, we have a few polls. So curious for everyone, does your library use eResource MARC Records in your pack? And then we have a few follow-up questions as well. And while these polls do come up on your screen, this is also a great time to enter any questions into that questions panel. We do have one already. I'm holding off. I think there's going to be a few more. I'll get to those in just a moment. Yep. Oh, yay, more are coming in. Perfect. All right, yes, the majority of people do have eResource MARC Records. Very good. The next question, for those of you who said yes, where do you get those eResource MARC Records? Are you getting, and please check all that apply. Do you currently use eBiblioFile today? Are you getting them directly from your eResource vendor, such as through OverDrive, potentially from other databases, either through that Z3950, through its MARC or others? Or if you answered no in the last one, go ahead and check that NA. It's always nice to see where records are coming from. And I do see more questions coming in as well. Perfect. Keep them coming. I'll get to those shortly. All right. And then the next poll. Oh, sorry. Here's the results. I'm jumping ahead. So it looks like a lot of people are getting them directly from their eResource vendor. Nice direct access, and a few eBiblioFile folks on the call as well. Thank you for joining today. And then our next poll has to do with enrichment. So do you enrich your eResource MARC records, such as with subject, headers, different genres or series, contributors? So whatever those look like, do you always enrich, only sometimes enrich, never? Or again, if you answered no originally, if you don't have eResource records, that NA option is for you. And I do have to give credit where credit is due. I had to ask Sam and Kim to give me an example of enrichment. As I said, I'm not a cataloger, so I had to ask, what are we enriching? What does that look like? All right, it looks like, ooh, a nice kind of even split. So sometimes, always, and never, right across the board. All right, our last question today for the audience is whether or not you'd like to receive more information. So we do have access to eBiblioFile.com. You're more than welcome to go there. But if you'd like us to reach out to you to provide more information, or you have additional questions that maybe we can't get to today, go ahead and hit that yes, please contact me option, and we'll be sure to reach out following this webinar. So we'll leave that up on the screen for just a little bit because I do have some questions coming in, and I think we can start to speak to those first of all. So one thing, Kim, you did mention that folks have access to free records if they fill out that trial form. Can you speak a little bit more to that, what they're able to get from those records?
Certainly. When you request a free trial, it's sort of an automated process, but eBiblioFile will reach out to the vendor and request 25 titles that you have recently ordered from that vendor. And those are the records that we create as samples. So we'll process those records, those titles, as if it was a new order, even though you've previously ordered those titles, but at least we have that exact matching data so that you can check to see what those records look like. And you'll be emailed those records. We process that 25 record examples and email them to you so you can review them as part of a trial. And until you've had a chance to look through the MARC records, it's still considered a trial. So you get those for free.
Great, thank you. Now, a lot of people know TLC because we do provide integrated library software, but do people need to be TLC customers in order to use eBiblioFile?
Want me to keep talking? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't know if you wanted me or Sam to talk. Or...
Oh, go ahead, Kim. I have
Okay.
a question for Sam next.
Okay. Yes. Any ILS can make use of the MARC records. Standard MARC data, so it can be imported or uploaded into any ILS.
Perfect. That is good news. All right, Sam, over to you for this one. Do you work with schools who use Sora through OverDrive?
Yes, we do. Sora is definitely the school OverDrive interface to support eResources, and we do work with OverDrive in those who use the Sora app for integration.
Perfect. Thanks. Kim, I'm going to jump over to you on this next one. What are some examples of custom fields that libraries add?
Good question. I have to try to, I'm racking my brain here to try to remember. One of the things we ask is if you want to have your general material designator, that's known as GMD, have it automatically removed. I've seen a number of different fields added, like a 90 or a 092. I can probably find out a full list of everything that's available. We also ask if you wanted to add like an extra 7XX field to add something in there. There's been a couple of consortia that wanted to include an added contributor entry for their consortia name. Sometimes they add shelf location in an 092, as I mentioned. I have seen subjects used, a subject field that was used of particular interest to a customer. So it's quite a variety. We offer quite a variety. We also allow configuration of which, for those of you who know MARC, there's an 856 field that contains the URL, and it has note subfields available so that you can provide your customers a link in your OPAC that says click here to access the title. And so that's called like an extra note field. And so you can customize which field you want that data to be in. Hopefully that answered the question. If not, let me know and I'll get back to you with the list of exactly what we offer in our customization field. So.
Yeah, that's great, Kim. Thank you. And I do have a few more questions. I'm just going to keep asking them to you. Do you do anything with updating series on ebook records?
When we're doing the minimal title upgrades, we do make sure that the series titles are accurate and correct. But this is a complicated answer actually when I think about it, because many libraries have different opinions on where that series title data should go. Some libraries prefer the series title to be as the main title with the subtitle containing the series volume name. Others like a series title to be in the 490 plus the 830. Others want it, 490 plus 800. So there's variations on exactly what that series title content should be and where it should reside. But we do, when we upgrade minimal titles, we're putting the series title in the 490 plus the 830 sort of automatically. I don't know if that helped or not, but we do touch it. But and another thing to mention is that libraries have different ways that they want that series title to display in their pack. So that's something that you might disagree with the way we do it. We just sort of select the most commonly used series title.
Yeah, that is great. And I'm sure many of the catalogers are more familiar with those fields than I am. So
yeah, I was giving a lot of MARC speak there.
No, it's perfect.
The title, the series title data that's in our eBiblioFile title record is based on what the OverDrive or cloudLibrary metadata is sent to us. So we use the terminology that is provided by the vendor when we first create that series title field.
And that's really good too, because a lot of the audience has said that they are getting those directly from OverDrive. So nice to be able to have that connection there. Yeah. Another question for you: does eBiblioFile catalog from pre-publication and/or galley information, and at what levels?
Let's see. Well, we check in our bibliographic databases, and some of those title records are pre-publication or CIP records. Some are pretty minimal. We will use that data if we cannot find a fuller record available for that particular title-author combination. We try to move that up into full level as much as possible. So, and as I said, the minimal titles during upgrade steps, we will make them full level. At that point, we will change it from the minimal title records are basically sort of core brief minimal records, and so we make sure we upgrade them to full level at that point. Hopefully that helped. If not, ask again.
This next one, I think I'm going to kick over to Sam. How does your service work in consortial situations? So the person asking has 45 public libraries in their OverDrive consortium, and only about 8 of them currently load MARC records for the collection.
Yeah, we definitely support consortial situations. We have a number of customers who are consortial in nature, and once we understand a little bit more about your configuration, we can give you finer details, and I assume we have the contact information for this person. We can reach out to them directly and give them a lot more specific info on how it would work, and happy to do that.
Definitely, we will follow up with you afterwards. It looks like that was we will reach out afterwards and talk to you more about that. The next question, Sam, if you want to take this one, can eBiblioFile records be automatically uploaded into the ILS?
That depends on the ILS and the what options are available we have certain partners with Library.Solution that we can do automatic uploading for, but it certainly depends on who the ILS is and what they already have in place to support those options. So go ahead.
It looks like that question is coming from one of our Carl customers.
Yeah, absolutely. We can work with you. I don't believe that functionality is currently available, but there's certainly infrastructure in place with some additional changes to the product line. There's certainly infrastructure in place to support some of those workflows.
Thanks, Sam. This next one I'm going to pass to Kim. Is there an advantage to getting those records from eBiblioFile versus OverDrive?
Well, of course, I'm biased. I think the record quality is better with eBiblioFile than OverDrive or other vendors. I have not, it's hard for me to, I'm biased in favor of eBiblioFile, of course, because I think the quality is good. But I'll leave that up. Customers have to decide which is better. I believe you can download some free records from different vendors, including OverDrive, to review them. If they're free, of course, you could look at them first and then see. And you could certainly set up an eBiblioFile trial and look at the example records from eBiblioFile and then determine which way you want to go. Because you can always cancel your eBiblioFile registration after the trial.
Kim and Ria, if I could just jump in here and add to that, if they're specifically speaking to the free OverDrive records, there certainly are some advantages, including the enrichments that we talked about and the authority control. And I don't know exactly the context of the person asking the question, but if it's a comparison of the full MARC records that we deliver in the eBiblioFile service versus the free OverDrive records, there's definitely significant advantages in the metadata that's provided.
And that's what I've heard from customers as well.
There's someone posted a comment. They agree with you. OverDrive records are not good. Sad face. We do have one more question, and I think I'll jump in on this one first. The question is, how would you compare your records with those from OCLC, who's their current source? And I do want to add, we have a chart on our website that does compare different sources side by side, so you can see some of those fields and get a better idea, a little bit more in depth. But maybe a good question for our panelists today would be, if you're familiar with those OCLC records, could you maybe talk to some of the elements that exist in those fields comparatively to eBiblioFile?
Well, I use WorldCat, the website, their online OPAC, quite a bit for enriching my title records that I'm working on. So I've had occasion to see quite a number of OCLC eResource title records. Many of the ones I have seen are very brief records, and some are very full level records. So it just depends on the particular record that you're looking for from OCLC or any other vendor for that matter, because some are very well full level, good enrichment, and some are very brief. So it varies. Just depends on the title.
Absolutely, and then that's another good reason to do that. Those 25 free records to be able to try them out and compare them. And we did just post the link to the website tlcdelivers.com/data-services, which provides an opportunity to compare OCLC versus eBiblioFile. Speaking of which, before I jump into this next question, Sam, I'm going to ask you if you could speak a little bit more to some of our other data services, if you wouldn't mind, as a quick sound bite for a few of our other metadata services that we offer.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ria. Well, we talked about RDA enrichments provided within this eBiblioFile service, but we also have that as a standalone service as well for our customers. We also offer a host of databases that libraries can subscribe to use them as base records. And we have a core level access and some premium access databases that provide a great starting point for those libraries who have cataloging staff and need to do original cataloging or enrichments to their existing MARC records. So yeah, absolutely. We're excited about the data services that we provide, and eBiblioFile certainly is another one. If there's other, last on note is, if there's other eResource vendors that you're working with and you're interested in us partnering with them to provide MARC records, reach out to us, reach out to me directly, and we can start a conversation with those other eResource vendors.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam. And I'm going to be posting to the chat now as well. We did have one of our staff members give us the link to those custom fields for eBiblioFile. We had that question early on. Thank you, Sherry. You're always on top of it. And just a few more questions I'm going to pass to Kim. The first one is, do we need a third-party MARC editor to upload the records if we're in LS2 cataloging?
No, you don't. You can certainly just import the records into LS2 cataloging when you receive them from eBiblioFile. Just import them as if you would any other vendor record file or external record file, and just import them in, and they'll be saved to your database, and you can edit them inside LS2 cataloging if you wish to review them and look them over.
Okay, perfect. And then our last question so far that's come in, if you're currently typing it, we'll get to those shortly. Just hit enter soon. So the last question so far is, how is capitalization handled in the 245 field, Kim?
Well, that's another one that's a little more complicated to answer because it all depends on things. Generally, the full title records will be following RDA capitalization behaviors, and essentially most of that is AACR2 as well, for those of you who know MARC cataloging standards. So capitalization would be, in the full title records, is usually the first letter of the first word, and in the title plus the first letter of any proper name, proper noun is capitalized throughout that title field, throughout the 245, with the exception of the first letter in a subtitle is lowercase. Now, RDA lets you capitalize the words based on what you see on the item, the resource itself. Because these are eResources, we don't really have an item to look at, to double check, so we just sort of follow the standard capitalization rules. Sometimes I look at the website, the vendor website, to see how they've displayed it, but quite often that data showing is the first letter of every word is capital because it's a label, it's a heading. So I fall back to the RDA or AACR2 rules on capitalization. That helps.
Yeah, it's always great to follow those standards.
Yeah.
And we did get one last question in. Do you use library transcription?
Well, I'm not familiar with that. Is that a product or? I need
I'm
more
not sure.
clarity, I think.
Yeah, so Tom, if you want to add more to that question to the chat, we'll take that. And while you're typing up a little bit of a clarity, Sam, I'll ask you to go to the next slide, and I'll talk a little bit about our next webinar and do some reminders, and then we'll follow back up with that question. So next week, we are going to be talking about cybersecurity for libraries, and specifically what does that mean and what can you do to keep your library safe? So if that sounds interesting to you, please jump online, register for it at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. And I mentioned at the top of the call, but I'll say it again, that this webinar is recorded and that will be available on the website, that same spot, starting tomorrow. Looks like that we did get some clarification specifically to the 245 field, Kim. So library transcription in the 245 field.
But library transcription, that's where I'm hitting a blank wall here because I'm not too sure. Like transcription means you're listening to something, you're transcribing something you're hearing or something that you see. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to. But we do follow the library the RDA standards for transcribing what we see. In this case, because it's an eResource, we're reliant on looking at the vendor's website or just following sort of standard capitalization rules. Don't know if that helps or not.
Yeah,
Not sure
and
if you meant transliteration, maybe. Anyway, you can reach out to me for further clarification, or I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, we'll follow up after the webinar. Yeah, get that one figured out for everybody. One last reminder before we log off today, there are some handouts available for you, specifically that eBiblioFile product sheet. It does have the link out to eBiblioFile.com. That's also the place where you can grab those 25 free records. Be sure to do that, especially those who have been looking at some of those other places that records are coming from. That's a great opportunity to trial it out, see if it works for you. And then also our corporate brochure for TLC, if you're interested in that as well. Be sure to download both of those, and the recording will be available tomorrow. Sam, Kim, thank you both so much for joining us today and providing some expertise on eBiblioFile. I know this is one of our services that we like to be able to offer, and especially as libraries are moving more towards those eResources, especially following the pandemic and having more options to have digital titles, I think it's so important to be able to make them discoverable in those catalogs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody who joined us today. And again, hello from the past if you are watching the recording of this in the future. We will see you on the next webinar. Thank you so much, everybody. Be safe and see you next time.